Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's exclusive webinar on data-driven API testing using Test Ensure. So today we are gonna be talking about how to make API validation way smarter. Quick intros. We have got Karthik Chintalapati, our VP of Enterprise Solutions at Salotech, and we have Raj Sudamala, our Chief IT Architect and the person who actually built Test Ensure. He is the API testing guru, and so we are in good hands, of course. So without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Raj.
Thank you, Swati. So I think this is a very interesting topic which we are actually discussing it. I know Karthik was actually with a lot of customers, talking about the solutions and then trying to get the problem statements and all those things. So that's what we do normally. We talk to the customers and then try to get the problem statements and try to develop the features that whatever that we do have it. Karthik, I would like to ask you a quick this one, because the one whatever that we have actually developed, would like to see that it's because the way that you actually interact with the customers, and this one became one of the important topics what you have it. Can you please explain from the problem statement perspective, and also the real problems or issues that customers are facing without this particular API testing that's there.
Thank you, Raj. Thank you, Raj. I get requests quite often on this API part because when we deal with these enterprise customers, it's all integrated systems which are connected through APIs, and they are very notorious. These APIs every day, it's like unexpected error statuses, network failures, timeouts. It's an occurrence where APIs can and will fail. That's how I term them, leading to a lot of data corruption or incomplete data, resulting into integrity issues, right? Now, important part is like these APIs come in a different formats. It could be an external API dependency on it versus it could be an internal API between the two applications. The downside of it is like you end up having a lot of challenges in terms of revenue loss or reputation damage or loss of trust on the system because it kind of creates a lot of negative vibe in the business community. Of course, there are multiple mechanisms businesses adopt and they maintain, like failover mechanisms or error handling or continuous monitoring that's happening. But simultaneously, organizations have to adopt to a mechanism to test for the failures regularly by simulating the scenarios around these APIs to ensure that the system can be recovered quickly. And with that problem statement, just want to understand like let's get deep dive into test ensure how we can bring more value to the organizations, especially these ERP or organizations which are adopted the ERP way of transacting. Please, over to you, Raj.
Yeah, thank you, Karthik. I know, based on your discussions with the customers and also with that Silotech, right? We do have a great experts, domain experts, we do have it, and who has a functional experts, which we do have it. So by taking all these things into the together, we went to the drawing board, and went through that, just not to have the API testing. That can be done using a SOAP UI or something like that. But here we want to get end-to-end testing and make sure that the system does not get into these kind of issues and all those things. And particularly, especially coming back to this ERP systems, where there is a lot of functionality and where we need to call a lot of external systems HR, CRM, or finance systems. There are a lot of external systems where there is a to and fro of transactions that's going to happen. So that's what what we want to get in there. So that's why we definitely had to spend a lot of good amount of time on this one and making sure that these things will be addressed. So the way that we have actually addressed this particular issue, and basically one is key thing is we have actually developed, because of the what we believe is testing on the back end side of it. I know especially right now we do that UI testing. That's seamless, which we have taken it and we have been leader with that. There is no issue at all. But testing on the data side is going to be the most critical thing. What we are actually thinking of, and that particular API, we should not be testing only with one data set or something like that. With the same functionality, because of the different data sets, like where we can try to do that. That's when, where we can get a good coverage of it. So in test and show, what we have developed is, we have actually developed in a system that, where we can take that particular elements, dynamically, and then, where we can test that data, dynamically, and use that. That's going to be the user friendly. Yes, with that, we have achieved one API, that can be done, but there will be a chain of APIs, which we need to do. Just take one instance, right? Maybe the order management. So you want to make a call to API, to create an order, right? And then, then you can do the confirmation of the order, and then, probably you can go and update the inventory, and then, kind of purchasing it on all those things. So with all these things, that's kind of a chaining of APIs. So there is when you create an order, there's an output response, which you are going to get it, and use that one, for the confirmation, and then, then you can use that, for a the next set of it, for the payments and all those things. So we have developed in a such a way that, it's going to be plug and play architecture, where when we actually get all these APIs during the time of a release, we want to plug which API which you want to do that, and the chaining of that particular API. Hey, take this output of this particular API as an input to this one, and then, once you are done, maybe use that one, maybe to the UI side of it. So you can combine the APIs on the backend side of it towards the, the front end side of it. So that's how, we have achieved it. And the other important thing, what we have done, I think, probably which you hear from a lot of customers is, ERP releases a lot of, especially the cloud, they release a lot of patches and all those things, that can be a monthly, regular, minor releases, and also major releases. And yes, we are actually trying to do that, with our UI testing, but that's not enough, because there is a lot of failures that what we have seen it is, from the backend testing, from the external systems, where we are actually, because that one, the ERP OEM systems, that they cannot be able to test it. So the way that we have done is, when there is a patch that comes in, we are actually kicking that particular APIs directly, and so that, we can get that coverage also very, very faster, and they don't need to wait, until the failure comes in, and as you said, that will be a system, they'll be not thinking about, the system not working properly to the end users and all those things. So with all these things, which we have actually incorporated, and these things with the best of the test injuries, it can be developed by your business analyst or functional guy, or somebody can just drag and drop, which API they need to call it, and which system they need to call it, and parameterize it with the multiple data sets and all those things. These are all kind of an external things, what we can do. So with this, which we have achieved with the test ensure.
Right. A few straightforward examples I can say is sales orders getting created when quote results out of Salesforce, that integration, PLM integration. Then the other part is the item data creation when in the master data, which again is a very critical process, because from the engineering team, they keep creating different versions and revisions of the item that needs to be updated over here. So yes, when it comes to these integrations, now when you talk about the APIs, there are multiple integration platforms over there, right? So how easy is it to adapt to these when it comes to testing these integration platforms? It could be SOA, or it could be Ion, or it could be third-party middleware, which is adopted by the organizations.
Correct. So that's why I think, very good point, Karthik. That's one of the reasons, when we are actually trying to take that, from test ensure, we actually took all these instances, because the integrations can be your SOAP or REST APIs. If it's a legacy system, it can be a SOAP, and then, if the new system, that's going to be there as a REST APIs. And also, some of them, they have the middleware layer, which they would like to get it, and with all the transformation that need to be done and all those things. So we have done in a such a way that, where we take that request, it's kind of, we made it as almost like a black box, right? So we just take the requests, because for anything, whatever that you want to get in, there is a request and response, right? Any system that you take it, these are the key things which we need to work on. And so the way that we have taken is, we have built in that kind of user interface, so that it can be dynamic, where you take all that request, what it's going to be there, and use the placeholders for the for the API that to be sent, and the response that whatever that we are getting from the third party system or like internal system. So we had a dynamic way of trying to map that particular one to the output of the that way we can show that from the external system. So there, like, one of the key thing is we have to do make sure like the assertions, right? The okay, the response like whatever that you are actually getting it, and you want to make sure like the response is being correctly coming up, and that is one of the key things which we do that. So getting that responses and like making sure that whatever that we are actually passing with the multiple data sets and all those things.
Right, right. Yes, I agree to that because when APIs are the key essential integration mechanism between two applications, and when customers now on cloud, they face multiple challenges because of the releases, the changes that are happening, the difference in the data, because the transformation is happening in the integration layer. It could be it is very much required to continuously test it so that you can be on ahead of the curve. And it's important that the testing is not just the regression flow, but a dedicated testing where you can create chaos, do the negative positive data testing as well, to understand the challenges one might end up with when a change is applied into the production. Yes, thank you, Raj. I'll say if any questions are there for us, please do let us know. We are available around the clock. And Test Ensure has been very well accepted, very well received by the business community because it's cloud based, and it makes it very easier. The way Raj explained today, this is not something which take a lot of effort to develop or build, because the smartness of the framework based Test Ensure adapts to these API testing requirements quite easily. And this year being a decennial year for Silotech, we are, I believe, offering a lot of discounts as well to the customers so that they can easily adapt and live with it, and appreciate the application, so that at the enterprise level, the architecture is more robust, more secure, and very safe in regards to the vulnerabilities as well.
Yep.
Anything you want to add over here, Raj, before we close down?
No, I would like to add, yeah, we're just not stopping here, right? Yeah, as we get like all the problem statements, we are continuously improving the functionality. I think there was a Gen AI, which we are actually using it like in a way to generate the test cases automatically through our AI and all those things. So that one also came back from the customer outputs. And the other one which we are actually very actively working and it's going to be coming to you. I think one of the biggest demand that whatever that we have it is developing the test cases by the user, by business analyst and all those things. Right now there is a small dependency on a development and all those things, very low code that is there, but we are actually working on it so that there is no code kind of thing. So that is actually very much actively coming up. So in the next webinar or so, we'll share more updates on that one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Do let us know if you have any queries. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. We are all available there. Thank you.
Thank you.